Welcome back. In the last video, we carved the neck. I've now attached it with the bolt-on system, and what I want to do in this video is make sure that everything is perfect before I start fretting it. So let's get going. I'm going to start with verifying that the neck is still in line with the body, that nothing has changed over time here. Easiest way to do that is to roughly locate the bridge. This is a 25.4 inch scale. So I'm going to go just a little bit beyond 25 3/8, right down the center of the board. Doesn't have to be super accurate on this level. And I'm going to put a piece of tape down, easy release tape, where the bridge is going to be. Then I'll take that straight edge straight down the side of the fretboard on each side and give a little mark. Now I can easily measure from there to the center of my joint to verify that the neck is still straight and in line. Next, I want to check the neck alignment along the face of the guitar. There's a lot of things I want to check here. One of the first ones is, I know my fretboard is just a little bit thick. I'm going to be doing some sanding in this next operation, but only thousandths of an inch thick. Taking a trusted straight edge, I discovered that my fretboard is very flat right now from the nut to the 12. I've got a little bit of a dive off going on from where it goes to the guitar body, and not only that, but if you look closely, I've got a little bit of flex here. There's a little bit of room between the fretboard and the body of the guitar. I don't want that. Furthermore, if I take the straight edge out to where the bridge is, at this point, without the frets on it, I want to be about 1/4 of an inch off of where the bridge is here. My bridge is going to get too tall. Right now, I'm almost 3/8 of an inch too high. All of this tells me that I've got to set my neck up a little bit more. This is the opposite of most repairs. Usually you're trying to come the other direction. So I've got to find a way to make an adjustment here on my neck. Thank goodness I've got a bolt on. I found 2 steel rulers that are exactly the same thickness, and I took the smaller of the 2 and ground the end into a sharp marking tool. Like I said, it's the same thickness as this ruler here that I've put between the heel cap and the body of the guitar. Therefore, holding the heel down or out while the top is still tight and pushing the neck up to the angle that I desired. So now all I have to do is mark it, and with some very sharp tools, adjust the heel. I've completed working my neck joint so that the angle is a lot better now, and I've got measurement in my bridge down to, well, it's a little bit less than 5/16, so that's good for me. I've also got the fretboard touching at the binding and at the sound hole, but I've discovered with the use of a light that I've got a little bit of a dip in the top here. I'm going to want to work that out before I go any further. If you don't already have a neck rest, it's time to get one or make one. They're simple enough. This one is extra long, and that's going to be beneficial for this next phase, so it gives the neck support all the way along the length of it, as opposed to a small point when the neck could flex over it. The bottom of it is rounded so that it can accommodate a wider range of body sizes and depths. Will automatically level to whatever the neck is. And if you look closely at the bottom here, I've got some leather that's been installed here to protect the neck. But it's contacting just at two edges. It's been hollowed out cleanly so that you're only contacting the neck on each side and not on the bottom of it. This keeps it from rolling and gives it extra support. Cutting that cove is not actually all that difficult to do if you know how, and here's how. It takes a little trial and error to get this set up properly, and please be very, very careful if you're going to try this. The blade's set up for maybe a 1/16 of an inch worth of cut, and here's my block. You got to imagine that it was still square, but if you're only taking a very small cut, you can run across there, raise the blade a little bit, come across again, raise the blade a little bit, come across again, until you finally hogged out the shape. I've installed a plastic shield on the face of the guitar just to protect and guard against any problems that might occur as I'm doing these next phases. Got two primary tools here to use. The fretboard's already been pre-radiused, but I do have some cleaning up to do left over from putting the markers in. And I want to make sure I'm as flat as I possibly can be at this point before I put my frets in. It'll save me a lot of fret dressing, it'll give me a more consistent play on the instrument, lots of benefit to it. So you'll see this very often in my videos. It's just a piece of known straight material, happens to be a piece of extrusion off of an old Delta Unifence. I've adhered some sandpaper to it, and I'm going to put this on the fretboard very carefully with even pressure. I'm not going to push any direction on this. I'm not going to try to influence it at all and keep it as level as I can. So I'm just going to give a couple of strokes here and see what I come up with, taking great care not to roll over the edges. Now this is a Coca-Cola fretboard, very oily. So one thing I like to do is vacuum frequently. It keeps the sandpaper from loading up, and it also lets me see what's going on. Now I can tell right away looking at this that I've got a low spot right here, because I can see the sanding marks over here. I went across it, I can see it sanded here and not here. This is feeding me some information about what's going on this fretboard. I'm also, well, quite surprised that I don't see a big drop off right here. I thought I saw that on the straight edge when I used it. This isn't always easy to see, especially in all woods. So a little bit of yellow or white chalk will help sometimes to determine what's going on. So I'm going to sand this flat and straight. Looks like this one probably isn't going to need a whole lot of work. Now, if I'm not sure whether I'm changing the contour of the fretboard or not, I'll go back to the sanding block I used in a previous video that has the 16-inch radius that is what this fretboard is going to be. And I can use that. Typically I'll see what I'm seeing here is I avoid the edges so much that it's only taking it down on the edges. I'll have to do a little more work on this. Be very, very careful of the edges. Once you've taken too much off there, you can't put it back, and edges sand faster than the material in the middle. So I'm going to keep working this until I've got it perfectly straight and flat. Once you get down to the fine grits where you're really just polishing the fretboard, it's not necessary to have that long board anymore. There's just not enough grit here to affect the shape of the fretboard one way or another, unless you get, really nuts about it and start grinding away in one spot. If you're careful, you don't need it anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and buff this out. Some people go to 320 and that's it. Other people go on to in the thousands of grits to really give it a buff right now. It's a whole lot more difficult to get anything out once you've got the frets on, so get it to the point you like right now, and I'll see you at the fretting video.